Good day, class. Today we'll be discussing our third module for EAPP titled Summarizing Findings and Executing Report Through Narrative and Visual or Graphic Forms. Last time we talked about our second module, which was all about reports. We talked about different types of reports, formats of reports, and what kinds of reports you usually will encounter in your academic life, even in your professional life. So this time we'll be digging further into reports by discussing how do we summarize the findings or the results of our investigations or surveys when we are making reports. So let's go further. So this is the objective of our module, what I need to know. This module will help you to learn the different ways on how to summarize report findings and execute the report through narrative and visual or graphic forms. Specifically, at the end of this module, you're expected to first identify the different types of reports. Second, explain the different ways of summarizing report findings. And third, use narrative and visual or graphic forms in summarizing report findings. This actually sounds difficult and technical, but actually this lesson is very easy. It's just so long. Okay? Um, for this module, guys, as I have already mentioned in our group chat, the activities you will need to do here are first, what I know, second, independent activity 1, third, independent activity 3, fourth, independent assessment 3, and 5, assessment. So we have a total of 5 activities here. So here, what I know, you'll be doing this. This is only 10 items, multiple choice. So answer it now. Okay, you may pause this video if you're still answering this. Okay, now let's proceed and continue to our discussion. What is it? So, reading 1, defining types of reports. We have actually discussed different kinds of reports during our second module, and those are about the formal, informal, internal, external, and other kinds of report. But this time, we'll be dealing with types of reports depending on what kind of report they are. Okay, let's begin. As a student, there will be times when you will need to write, summarize, or present a report. A report is a document that presents data or information about a certain topic in an organized format or for a specific audience and purpose. As I have said before, reports are basically descriptions of events, persons, situations, okay, that you write for a specific audience. And when you are making a report, you write it in an organized format. Okay? Remember that. In an organized format. Meaning, we follow a certain structure. And therefore, it is formal. Okay? Usually, a report is formal, as we have discussed in our previous module. So, below are brief discussions of the different types of report that you may write as part of your academic, even your professional writing. So the first kind of report or type of report we'll be discussing is the survey report. From the word survey reports provide recommendations based on a careful analysis of data, tallied, binilang, and organized from survey findings. In summarizing findings from survey, you need to provide an overview of the entire report, such as the date the survey was conducted, the methods of presenting responses, and the important findings of or key results from data presented. So in the survey report, all you are doing is that you are giving or presenting the results of a survey. I believe you are aware of what a survey is. Diba? When you are asking a large group of people certain questions about a topic. Example, you want to know who are the leading bets for the 2022 presidential elections. So you'll be asking a lot of people. Thus, you're doing a survey. You'll be doing a survey. So once you're done doing that survey, what you will do is a survey report. Through the survey report, you will be presenting the results of that survey. Okay? Second is a situation or field report. This one is very common actually. A situation or field report is a documentation. Okay? Pag sinabing documentation, narration, pagkakwento of observations and analysis of particular phenomena. Phenomena means pangyayari. Situations, behaviors, processes, and more. It provides a detailed description of an observed person, place, or situation which is used to analyze and compare data over a theoretical framework. So, basically, the situation or field report is just the common narrative report we do. Yun lang yun. Halimbawa, yung mga reporters, when they are making news reports, they are making field reports or situation reports. They go to a place where the news happened, where the news took place, and then they will gather facts about the incident, about the situation, and then they will present it there. Ang tawag doon ay situation or field report. Okay, halimbawa, kagaya ng sinabi ko nung last module natin, if you are the president of your class and then an incident happened in your classroom where two of your classmates fought, nagawa ng fist fight, nagawa ng suntukan. So, ikaw bilang president, you will be doing a narrative report, and that narrative report is an example of a situation or field report because you will just be documenting or narrating, ikikwento mo lang what happened, yung sitwasyon nung oras na yon. Okay? Again, kapag survey report, the information you're presenting are based from the results of a survey. I'm so sorry. My throat is very itchy right now. Okay, the second one, again, is situation or field report, which is all about narrating what happened, what happens, and what will happen in a situation, okay? Or in a place or about a person. Then third, we have the technical report. In the technical report or scientific report, a technical or scientific report is a document that describes the process, progress, and results of a technical scientific research or the state of a technical or scientific research problem. The main purpose of this type of report writing is to communicate technical information and or the results of a study or experiments. So this one is done for researches. So when you're making a research and then you're asked to summarize the research, then you're making a report, a technical or scientific report, because this is a shortened version of a thesis of a research. Okay, you can find the format of this kind of report in our second module, the module last week. So it is given there, and I believe I have discussed it there. I have also discussed there this kind of report, the technical or scientific. Okay, and finally we have the business report. Under the business reports are the most common reports that we see. Okay, let's read the discussion here. Business reports are required in disciplines such as accounting, finance, management, marketing, and commerce. Example of business reports. Business report is the analysis of a company's financial data, a report detailing their findings, a marketing campaign for a product, a report presenting the proposal to the company, a report on the management structure of a company, and recommendations for its improvement. So basically, business reports include sales report, financial report. So, ano pinakaiba ng sales report at financial report? Yung sales report, this is about, of course, the sales, benta. Okay? How many and how much product have you sold or have you not sold? Okay? Pag financial report naman, it's more of budget report. Okay? Meaning, how much have you spent? How much have you saved? Mga ganon. So, money ang pinag-uusapan pag sales, products. Okay? So, yun yung mga klase ng business reports. The sales, the product, the marketing strategy report, mga ganon. Okay? So, those are the 4 types of report we have here. Again, surveys, based from survey, situation is narrative, technical or scientific is for researches, and business is for the corporate, the business world. Yung mga sales nga na yan. Okay, let's go to our second topic, that is the summarizing report findings. So we already are aware about the different kinds of report, the different types of report. This time naman, let's talk about how do we summarize report findings. Okay, alam ko na kung ano yung report na ginagawa ko. And I also have the data for my report. Now, how will I summarize the data? Kasi you cannot put all the data on your report because it will be too hard to understand. Okay? So let's discuss that. The findings or result is perhaps maybe the most essential component of any report. Although summaries of reports may be delivered orally, syempre you can present naman your reports, 'di ba? Like what you do during your defense or when you are asked by your teacher to report. Okay, complete reports are almost always in the form of written documents. Your readers or audience would always prefer to read or listen to the summarized version of your report findings rather than the whole lengthy report. Yung sinasabi ko kanina na you cannot put all the data you have collected for your report in your report mismo because it will be hard for the readers and for the evaluators to understand your report because it's too long and it has too much information. That's why it's important that you summarize it first. Okay? So if we will be discussing this, why is there a need to summarize report findings? These are actually self-explanatory. So let's just run down on them. So audience or readers need summaries of report findings for the following reasons. First, to determine essential ideas and consolidate important details that support them. Yun lang. Para lang daw madaling makita kung ano yung essential ideas. Second, to find out the gist. Pag sinabi natin gist, it means general idea. Okay? Kumbaga yung pinaka-laman. Okay? Pinaka-topic, basta general idea, ganun. To find out the gist of the report or article without reading the entire document, as I've said a while ago, hindi nila kailangan basahin yung buong research mo or report mo. Third, to discover if the report is relevant to their needs. Syempre, 'di ba? If without the summary, they will have to read the whole report and it's a waste of time kung binasa nila yung buong report mo and in the end, realize nila na hindi naman pala nila yun magagamit, 'di ba? Okay? Fourth, to get an overview before digesting the details. Baka alam na nila kung ano yung binabasa nila bago nila basahin ng buo if ever they want to understand it further. And fifth, to help them keep up with current developments in the field or discipline that interests them. So, yun. Para lang aware sila sa mga uh, current developments or trends dun sa may field na pinaggawa mo ng report. Okay. How to summarize report findings. It is important to thoroughly understand the material you are working with when writing a summary. Take note of the following steps in writing a report summary. As we have discussed summarizing before in our first quarter, it's important that before you summarize a text or something, you fully understand it first. So the same goes with report findings. You really have to understand everything about the report before you summarize it. Okay? So if you would notice, that if you look at these steps in preparing a summary for your report findings, you would notice here, the first step is read the original report, highlighting important information or results. Meaning, you really have to read the report, you really have to understand the report for you to be able to summarize it. Okay, so once you're reading the original report, the second step is write down the important findings. Of course, that's the reason why you're reading it, to understand it. And for you to understand it better, it's important that you jot down important details. Ano ba yung mga mahalagang information dun sa report na yun na gusto mong i-summarize, na gusto mong ipabasa sa iba. Okay? Third, go through the process again. Ulitin mo daw, basahin mo ulit yung report, sulat mo ulit yung mga important findings, and then based on your purpose, decide on how you will present your summary. Ano bang gagamitin mong way to summarize it? Yun yung di-discuss natin mamaya. Do you want to present your summary using narrative form or you want to use visual or graphic form? So yun. And then finally, fifth, recheck and proofread your work and see to it that it is self-explanatory and visually appealing. Syempre, when you're making a summary of report findings, it has to be self-explanatory. Pag sinabing self-explanatory, pag binasa yun nung babasa, magigets ka agad nila, maintindihan agad nila. It doesn't need any more explanation. Kaya na nilang maintindihan yon on their own. Okay? And visual appealing. Interesting. Syempre naman, we have to make things interesting kasi nga medyo boring magbasa ng ng reports, diba? Let's go here to our third topic, which is strategies for summarizing report findings. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina, yung nasa may fourth step dun sa may in making summary of report findings, choosing the right strategy for your report findings, for your summary. Okay? Summary of reports may be presented in narrative or visual graphic form. So, may dalawang paraan daw. Pwedeng narrative or visual graphic form. I believe we have talked about narrative for so many times before. Narrative means telling a story, diba? From the word narrate. So, it's like you're just telling a story. Okay? Visual or graphic, meaning we use pictures, graphs. Okay? So, those are the two ways of summarizing report findings. The first one is in narrative form. Report in narrative form is written in textual manner. Sabihin, pa-text, pasulat. Okay? Kasi nga, narrative, nagkakwento. Okay? Most narrative reports are used in the legal and medical world. Siya diba, in the legal, in law, diba, sa batas. Usually, the reports there are in narrative kasi kailangan nakakwento. Halimbawa, may crimes, kinikwento yon. Medical naman, sa medicine, syempre, kinikwento yon. Yung kamusta yung pasyente, ano yung mga naranasan na pasyente na sintomas. So, all those are usually written in narrative form. It narrates events in a sequential manner. Okay? Yan, sequential manner. Syempre, di ba? Narration nga eh. Di ba when you narrate a story, you begin at the beginning. Syempre, di ba? You start at the beginning. Sa nagsimula. Tapos, you end it at the end. Hindi pwedeng pasabog-sabog kasi nga, it will be confusing for the readers. So again, in narrative form, you narrate events in sequential manner. Okay, it has a beginning, a body, and conclusion. Making these reports in a narrative form helps the reader to grasp the sense of what the report contains, because they can get a clear picture of what happened and in a chronological order. So yun nga, when you write summaries of reports in narrative form, it is easier for readers to understand the report kasi nga they get to understand the report from the beginning, from the very first instance to the finals, to the results of the study. Okay? So, what are the strategies daw in writing a report findings in narrative form? Ito daw yung mga iba't ibang paraan para masulat mo yung summary mo in narrative form. First is the 5 W's 1H. Ito madaling-madali lang to. The 5 W's 1H is one common strategy for summarizing in narrative manner. This strategy relies on the 6 crucial questions. Ito lang yung sabihin, masagot mo lang itong mga questions na to, pwede mo nang masummarize. Halimbawa, who, what, when, where, why, and how. Okay? So, once you have answered these questions, pagduktong-duktongin mo lang yon, and that's the summary. Halimbawa, what? What is it all about? Anong topic ng report? Halimbawa, COVID-19 in the Philippines. COVID-19 situation in the Philippines as of January 2021. Who? Tapos, pwedeng who are the affected individuals of COVID-19 in the Philippines. So, pwedeng nandiyan yung statistics na ilan yung mga lumabas na ganito sa ganito, ilan ang cases sa ganitong lugar, ganon. Tapos, when did the data, when was the data gathered? Kailan mo nakuha yung data? Okay? So, halimbawa, January 20 to January 21, 2021. Ganon. Where? Tapos, ito yung mga places where the data came from. Okay? And then, why? Why are you making this kind of report? And then how did you gather the data? So once you have answered these questions, you can already summarize. It's easy actually. The difficult thing about this is thinking of the questions. Diba? Alam mo naman ako ano yung mga questions yung who, what, when, where, why, and how. So the difficult task here is formulating the right questions. Ano na yung mga tamang tanong para ma-summarize mo yung buong report. Okay? Then we have the second strategy in writing a narrative report, a narrative summary of in narrative form is first, then, and finally. From the words first, then, and finally, this technique helps you summarize events in chronological order sa pagkakasunod-sunod. Okay? The three words represent the beginning, body, and conclusion of the report. Ito na yung sample. Halimbawa, sa first part ng summary mo, ng narrative summary mo, what happened first? Include the main points and main event. Halimbawa, what is the problem? Why is it a problem? Why is it worth studying? Ganon. And then, anong ginawa mo nung na-realize mo yung problem? So, you collected data, kanino mo kinolekta yung data, paano mo kinolekta yung data, okay? And then finally, yung last, ano yung mga resulta? What are the results of your findings? What did you find out? What do you conclude? Okay? What have you concluded after finding those results? Okay? And then third one is give me the gist. Give me the gist is a very, very easy way of making a summary of report findings. It's when someone asks you for the gist of a report that they simply want to know what the report is all about. Simply the general idea. In other words, they want a summary, not giving every detail. The gist method is like giving a friend the essence of a story or telling him or her your favorite Korean drama or teleserie in just 15 seconds or less. You can use the gist method as a fun, quick way to practice summarizing on a regular basis. So simply put, when you're making a summary of report findings in narrative form using this strategy, give me the gist, you just state the results as is. Yun lang. As in, wala na. Sabihin mo lang kung ano yung kinalabasan. Okay? Pinakamaikse sa lahat. Okay? We have here 3 examples of summary of report findings in narrative form. This one, example 1, this one is an example of the 5 W's 1H. Yan. Yan, yung mga who, what, where, how, paano nakolekta yung data, ano yung nakolektang data. Yan, halimbawa, yan. Nung 5 W's. Ito naman, itong book report summary, it's an example of give me the gist. Yan, kasi it's a book report is an example of a narrative form. Book report projects focus mostly on giving a summary of a literary work. So, summary lang, main idea lang ng isang work. Okay? So, para lang siyang give me a gist. And then finally, itong on-the-job training accomplishment report. Ito, example to ng first, then, and finally. Kasi, you narrate everything in chronological order. Okay, kailan ka nagsimulang mag-OJT, anong ginawa mo during your OJT, and then kailan ka natapos mag-OJT at anong na-realize mo after mo mag-OJT. Okay? So again, these 3 strategies, 5 W's, 1H, first, then, finally, and give me the gist, are your strategies to summarize the results of your report in narrative form ng pa-text. Okay? Siyempre, aside from narrative form, we also had the second one, which is writing report findings in visual or graphic form. Ito yung sabi ko kanina, gumagamit tayo ng pictures, lines, graphs, and other illustrations. So, report presented in graphic form make use of visually appealing tools. Visually appealing, sabihin, masarap tingnan, magandang tingnan, interesting. Okay? The use of visual or graphic in making summary of report findings bring your data to life. Siyempre, nagkakabuhay yun, di ba? Because it's more interesting. They add clarity, interest, organization, and authority to your work. Visual representations help the audience or reader understand data quickly. Totoo naman yun. Kapag may graphic organizer ang binabasa natin, mas masakap intindihin, mas masakap basahin, at mas madaling intindihin nga. Diba? Halimbawa, when you're reading an essay comparing Harry Potter with Encantadia, if you would read a comparison essay of the two, and it's full text, puro text lang, nakakatamad basahin. But if you would see their graphic organizers, halimbawa, nakakita ka doon ng Venn diagram. Diba yung Venn diagram ginagamit natin to compare and contrast? So, halimbawa, dun sa essay na yun, nakakita ka ng Venn diagram kung saan kino-compare and contrast ang Encantadia at Harry Potter. Mas madaling hindihin, mas masakap basahin. Kasi, mas madali siyang unawain because you already know that through that graphic organizer, ang laman nun ay compare and contrast. Okay? So, yun yung sinasabi dito na it's important that you know how to use visual or graphic form of summarizing your report findings so that your summary or your report will be more interesting and appealing to the eye. Okay? The following chart shows the different kinds of visual tools you can use in summarizing your report findings. So, ito yun. Meron tayong tables, charts, graph, diagrams, infographics. Pag sinabing infographics, images and text. And then, maps. Yung mga maps, yung mga word maps lang naman, concept maps, mga ganyan. So, let's discuss them one by one. Madaling-madali lang to. So, visuals again. Visuals supplement words with pictures, charts, graphs. Yung sinasabi ko kanina. Okay? Okay na yan. So, below daw are the guidelines for adding visuals to your report. Remember daw the acronym DepEd. So, ito yung dapat mong tandaan kapag maglalagay ka ng visuals. Una, D. Determine your purpose and audience or reader. Syempre, what's your purpose of summarizing the report findings? And who will be reading it? Diba? Syempre, this will guide you in planning the direction of your report, choosing the type of visual tool to use, and deciding the manner of your presentation. Use languages daw, method of writing, and or presentation suitable to your reader or audience. Syempre, kapag ang magbabasa ay mga high school students or elementary students, gamit ka ng medyo madali-daling graphic organizer. Hindi masyadong komplikado. Okay? Halimbawa naman, kapag atas ang magbabasa ay mga college students or mga teachers, yun, pwede ka na siguro gumamit ng three-way Venn diagram. Yung Venn diagram na tatluhan, yung mga ganon, kasi mas complicated yun. Mga ganon. So, syempre, i-determine mo muna kung sino yung magbabasa nung report mo bago mo piliin kung anong magandang visual tool lang gamitin. Second, ensure the accuracy and reliability of data includes sources of the information presented. Later, I'll show you kung ano yung mga sinasabi kong sources. Ibig sabihin lang nito, before you make the presentation, make sure that your data are correct. Make sure that you have read thoroughly the report findings at alam mo kung ano yung data niya. Okay? Third, P, plan and organize your visual in an orderly, easy to follow, and clear manner. So yun, you already know the data, alam mo na rin kung anong gagamitin mo, iplano mo siya, organize mo siya. Okay, sige, alam ko na. Ang data ko ay tungkol sa monthly electric consumption ng the Guzman family. Okay, so, yun yung data ko. Ang pwede kong gamitin klase ng visual ay bar graph. So, bar graph ang gagamitin ko. So, ngayon, iplano mo na. Okay, paano ko ba ipa-present yung data na yon, yung monthly electric consumption nila gamit ang bar graph. So, yun. So, yung P, yung planning. E, effective visuals are coherent and self-explanatory, add legends and data labels. So, yun nga, sinasabi natin na dapat yung summary mo, self-explanatory siya. Maiintindihan siya nung magbabasa on their own. Sabihin, hindi na kailangan magbasa pa ng ibang information. Pag nakita nila yung table, pag nakita nila yung Venn diagram, alam na kagad nila kung ano yung gusto mong ipaliwanag dun sa may graphic na yon. Kaya maglagay ka ng legends or data labels. Ito yung parang mga codes, halimbawa, pie graph. Siyempre, pag pie graph, usually, di ba pag pie graph, cuts yon, slices yon. And each slice represents a category. Halimbawa, ang survey mo ay tungkol sa LGBT community in Taal High School. How many are gays? How many are lesbians? How many are bisexuals? How many are straight boys, straight girls? So, yun ang ginawa mong survey. So, kapag yun ang ginawa mong survey, ano mo lang, pie graph lang yun kasi you're just identifying the categories, yung composition ng buong population ng mga estudyante ng Taal High School. So, ganun, kapag gumawa ka ng pie graph ngayon, syempre, kailangan mong labelan yun. Kailangan mong maglagay ng legend. Halimbawa, yung pink. Yung pink slice, it represents the gay students. Yung blue slice, it represents the lesbians. Yung green slice represents the bisexuals, and so on. Okay? Yun lang yun. Sabihin, dapat madali siyang intindihin. Okay? Lastly, the designs and colors should be pleasing to the eyes and adds clarity to the visual. Use different kinds of visuals appropriately. So, yun lang. Ayusin mo daw yung design and coloring ng visual mo. Kasi nga, baka naman, imbes na maging maganda siya, mas naka-confuse pa siya. Okay? Let's talk about the first kind of graph that you could use, the table. The table displays information in a grid-like format of rows and columns. It is widely used in communication, research, and data analysis. Data tables help you to keep information organized. If you're collecting data from an experiment or scientific research, saving it down using a data table will help you keep your information organized and easier to look up for later use. Data tables can also help you make graphs and other charts using computer software like Microsoft Excel and others. Sabihin, itong table ang pinakamadalas ginagamit at pinakamadaling gamitin sa lahat. Aminin nyo yan. 'Di ba? Pinakamadaling gamitin talaga ang table. Kasi kahit anong klase ng data, pwede mong ilagay sa table. 'Di ba? Sabi mong ano yan, composition yan, kagaya nung kayo sa pie graph, pwede mo ilagay sa table yon. Monthly consumption ng electric bill gamit ng bar graph, pwede mo pa ilagay sa table yon. Kumbaga yung table ang pinaka-versatile na graphic organizer na pwede nyo gamitin. Okay? At madali siyang intindihan kasi may labels na kagad siya, may columns na kagad siya. 'Di ba? Yung mga nasa taas na yun, may region, cases, deaths, percentage, number, active, recovered, tested, 'di ba? So, madali talaga siyang intindihin. Okay? At yung sinasabi ko sa inyo kanina, yung source. So, make sure to put the source there. Ayan. Okay? So, madali lang naman mag-table. Guidance for preparing a table for your data. I don't think we have to discuss this further kasi very self-explanatory naman to. It's easy to understand. So, if you want to go to that, you can just read that. Madali lang yan. Okay? Now, let's go to chart. A chart is a graphical presentation of data that makes use of symbols like arrows, boxes, and lines. The most common types of charts are organizational chart and flow chart. Madaling intindihin lang to. An organizational chart, from the word organization, is a chart that shows hierarchy. Ito yun. Hierarchy. Ang ibig sabihin lang po ng hierarchy ay levels, ranking, grades. Yun lang yun. Okay? So, yung bang levels of positions. Okay? A company's organizational chart graphically depicts the internal structure of the organization. You can use the organizational chart to visually organize data based on your report findings, especially kung yung data mo daw shows level of relationship or hierarchy. You can create good-looking charts in Microsoft Word or other computer programs. Ito yung example ng organizational chart. Yan. Remember, kapag gagawa kayo ng organizational chart, the top part is always the highest position, the highest level. So, makikita nyo sa taas, we have the present here. Okay? And then, from top to the bottom, placed there are the succeeding levels, succeeding ranks. So, halimbawa, ito, president yung pinaka nasa taas. Tapos sa baba niya, mapapansin nyo, tatlo yung magkakapantay. Kasi, ibig sabihin, magkaka-level lang sila ng position. Yung Vice President for Marketing, Vice President for Operations, and Vice President for Finance. Okay? And then sa baba nun, meron mga iba't ibang klase ng officers. So, yun yung organizational chart. Again, from the word organization, it's a chart that shows hierarchy in an organization. Okay? Itong guidelines, wag na kanyan kasi nga madali lang magdinihin yan. Let's go to flowcharts. So, ano pinagkaiba ng flowchart sa organizational chart? The organizational chart is about an organization. The flowchart is about the flow. Takbo. Okay? So, it helps you organize the steps, decisions, or actions in a process from beginning to end. Kaya nga flowchart Flow. Mula umpisa, flow hanggang dulo. Okay? They often include at least one starting point or end point, displaying different flow from start to finish. Flowcharts daw are used to depict complex situations. They use symbols to illustrate different parts of the process, and they usually include a legend to explain what each shape means. Ito yun. Halimbawa ng flowchart. Ito. Yung kanina sa organizational chart, yung pinakataas ang pinakamataas. Dito naman sa flowchart, yung pinakamataas or yung pinakakaliwa, yun ang simula. Okay, like this one. Begin. And then accepts data. And then after you accept data, you decide on data. Kapag yung data mo ay okay na, accepted yon. Yes, edi proceed ka na sa data mo. Kaso, kapag yung data mo ay hindi accepted, no, balik ka uli dito sa accept data. Sabihin, tanggap ka uli ng ibang data. Tapos, decide ka uli kung yung data nyo okay na o hindi pa. Kapag okay na, proceed ka na sa processing the data. Kung na-process mo na yung data, present mo na yung information, and then tapos. Okay? Here are the guidelines about making or using flowchart. Ayan. Ito lang naman yung dapat yung tandaan dyan eh. Yung symbols. Okay, yung arrow, of course, shows direction. The oblong denotes the beginning and the end of the process. Kaya makikita nyo yung end, tapos yung beginning, parehas lang naka-oblong. Yung trapezoid ba to? Ito yung parang rectangle na nakatihaya or nakaliyad, used for accepting and presenting data. And then, the rectangle denotes an activity carried out, shows a decision point. Okay, kaya ito may decision sa may diamond. Okay? Madali lang naman siya intindihan, diba? Let's go to our next graph or visual, the graphs. The graphs are a common method to visually illustrate pattern or relationship in the data. The purpose of a graph is to present data that are complicated to be described effectively in text. Ito kasi yung meron kasing mga data na sobrang hirap i-explain in text kapag narrative. Kaya ang gagawin mo, misap ka na ng magandang graph to present it. Okay? Depending on your purpose, you may choose from different types of graphs, including line graph, bar graph or column graph, pie graph, pictograph, to graphically present your data. Ito yung mga sinasabi natin kanina. So, isa-isay natin sila. Pag sinabing line graph, from the word line, it's a graph made of lines. Okay? It illustrates how related data changes over a specific period of time. Yung isang axis daw, one axis of this line graph might display a value, while the other axis shows the timeline. Line graphs are useful for illustrating trends. Yon, shows trends, make predictions, comparing two or more variables. Look at this. Yan. This is an example of a line graph. Okay? It shows the 10-year population of the Philippines. Sabihin from 2008 to 2019, ano ba ang population ng Pilipinas? Yan. So, line graph. Okay? And then we have the source at the bottom. Okay? Then we have the bar graph. The bar graph and the line graph are actually similar to one another. Okay? Kumbaga, it's up to you na lang on how you will use it. If you really want to see clearly the changes in the pattern, pwede kang mag-line graph. Pero kung gusto mo na naman makita in comparing each lang naman, pwede ka naman mag-bar graph. So, this is how a bar graph looks like. So, may value ulit tayo dito sa may kaliwa na pataas. And then, sa baba, meron tayong timeline. Okay? Ganun naman ang bar graph. This example 1 of bar graph is an example of a single bar graph. Kasi, pa isa-isang bar lang siya kada month. Okay? Kapag ka naman multiple bar graph, ganito ang itsura. Yan. Yan yun. So, halimbawa ito, average growth of plants for the control group and using two kinds of fertilizer treatments. Yan. Halimbawa, may halaman. So, tinetest mo yung mga halaman na yon kung kamusta yung growth nila without treatment, with treatment 1 and with treatment 2. So, halimbawa, yung halaman, pinalaki mo lang siya as is. Yung pangalawang halaman, pinalaki mo siya gamit na itong fertilizer na to. Yung isang halaman, pinalaki mo siya gamit ng pangalawang klase ng fertilizer. So, ganyan yun. Okay? Okay, halimbawa, kanina dito, sa single bar graph, ang pinapakita mo lang ay monthly bills ng kuryente or monthly consumption ng kuryente ng De Guzman family. So, isa lang silang pamilya. So, okay lang yung single bar graph. So, halimbawa, 3 pamilya na. De Guzman, Javier, tsaka Cruz family. So, 3 bar na rin yung lalagay mo kada buwan. Okay? So, yun lang yun. Single and multiple bar graph. And then, we have the pie chart. Ito yung pie chart. Ito yung sinasabi natin kanina na composition. So, pie graph presents the different parts of a whole. Okay? It looks like a circle divided into many pieces. Like a pie cut into slices. Kaya, pie graph. Okay? The pieces are different sizes based on how much of the whole they represent. Each piece usually has a label to represent its value compared to the whole. Professionals can use pie charts in business presentations to demonstrate population segments, market research responses, and budget allocations. So, halimbawa, may budget ka for 1 week. Ang baon mo for 1 week ay 250 pesos. So, pwede kang gumawa ng pie chart about it. Okay, yung 50 pesos, pamasahe ko for 1 week. So, yung one slice na yon. Tapos, let's say, 100 pesos lunch ko for the whole week. So, one slice na kinyo ng pie chart mo. And then, maubos siya, slices by slices, based on the proportions na ilalaan mo. Okay? So, ganoon lang yung pie graph. Look at this example. Yan. So, ito yung example ng pie graph showing the result of a survey of parents' most preferred learning modalities for their children for this school year 2020-2021. Yan. So, may 6 tayong parts dito sa kabuuan. We have blended learning, modular distance learning, online distance learning, radio-based instruction, television-based instruction. 5 lang pala. Okay, 5 parts. Okay, so, nahati siya, yung buong modality into these parts. Okay, based on the responses of the parents, kung anong gusto nilang klase ng modality para sa anak nila. Okay, and then we have the pictograph. The pictograph uses pictures. Ito, yun lang yun. From the word picture. So, gumagamit kayo ng pictures in your pictures. Halimbawa, nakakita na ba kayo ng ang tawag doon? Yung food chain na na graphics, yung may nakalagay na, halimbawa, worm. Tapos, sa worm, after ng worm, may arrow. Nakatuko naman sa bird. Kasi yung bird yung kakain ng worm. Tapos, after ng bird, may arrow ulit, nakatuko naman sa snake. Kasi yung snake kakainin yung snake ang kakain sa may arrow. Sa ibon. And then, yung snake naman, after ng snake, nakatuko naman sa tao. Kasi yung tao ang kakain ng snake. And so on and so on. Okay? So, yun. Yung klase ng pictograph. Meaning, you're just using pictures. Okay? Ito, very self-explanatory lang din to. I don't think we have to explain this na. Kasi nga sabi natin kanina, diba, visuals are important because they make your report more appealing and interesting. Diba? Easy to understand. Then we also have diagram here. Sa mga diagram, ito yung mga halimbawa, Venn diagram and other kinds of diagram. So, yun lang din yun. Para lang din siyang graphs. So, hindi ko na kailangan i-discuss ng maayos. And then, infographic, para lang din siyang pictograph. Yun lang din yun. Okay? Pictures plus text. Mababasa nyo yun, kagaya kanina sa may taas. Okay? And then, mind map. Ito yung mind map, used for summarizing information, presenting information visually. Mind mapping is a useful technique that supports learning, improves information recording, shows how different facts and ideas are related, and enhances creative problem solving. Ito yung yung pang word map or concept map, yung may nakalagay na halimbawa, love, nakalagay sa gitna. Tapos, maglalagay ka ng line. Tapos, magkoconnect ka ng isang data. Halimbawa, pain. Tapos, magkoconnect ka ulit yung isang data. Tapos, bilog uli. Ang nakalagay naman, joy. Mga ganun. Okay, so mind mapping. So, para lang gumagawa ng sapot-sapot ng ideas. Yung ganun. Okay? So, that's it for our lesson. It's very easy naman, di ba, to understand. It's quite long lang, but it's very easy to understand. So, let's